Dawn breaks slow over the Smoky Mountains, light bleeding through ancient pines. Mist clings to the earth, silence sacred. But this morning, that silence shatters under the crunch of gravel. Black SUVs, unmarked and ominous, wind up the narrow trail toward Turtle Island. Locals watch from their porches, coffee cups frozen. They know those vehicles. They know what it means when the federal government comes unannounced. Just 3 minutes ago, the FBI uncovered something beneath Eustace Conway's land that has sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. A hidden underground bunker, complex, deliberate, built over decades in absolute secrecy. The same man who taught thousands about living simply now stands at the center of a federal investigation that defies explanation. This is the man they called the last American man. The hermit who walked away from civilization, whose students learned to build fires without matches and read the forest like a book. That man, that legend, now reduced to a suspect in a case so classified that even the agents on scene don't know the full scope. Whatever they found beneath that mountain wasn't meant to be seen, and as sunlight illuminates the disturbed earth where agents dig, one thing becomes terrifyingly clear. The myth of Eustace Conway just died. What remains is something far darker. To understand this revelation, you need to understand who Eustace Conway was. Born into a world of concrete and convenience, Eustace walked away from it all. He vanished into the mountains and emerged as something out of time. A man who could skin a deer, forge a blade, build a cabin with bare hands. Turtle Island became his kingdom, 1,000 acres where students traveled from across the country to learn. Around crackling campfires, they listened to him speak about modern dependency, about how we'd traded freedom for convenience. Wood smoke and tanned hides, axes biting timber, lessons passed through dirt-stained hands. This was Eustace's gospel. But there was always something else beneath the surface. He was admired, revered, but there was also fear. The kind that comes from encountering someone who operates outside normal boundaries. Someone who lives by their own law and guards their sovereignty with unsettling intensity. Then came the rumors, late-night construction sounds, trucks arriving under cover of darkness, shipments of steel and concrete that made no sense for a man preaching simplicity. When asked, Eustace would deflect, explain it away as improvements. And people believed him because we wanted to. Until 3 minutes ago, when the earth gave up its secrets and the man we thought we knew revealed himself to be something else entirely. Early morning mist clung to the forest when federal vehicles crested the ridge. Radio chatter crackled through trees, cold and clinical. Agents moved with practiced precision. This wasn't routine. The specialized equipment and palpable tension pointed to something extraordinary. Locals gathered at the property line, held back by yellow tape. They watched as excavation equipment tore into the earth near Eustace's dwelling. Diesel engines and grinding metal violated the mountain's quiet. Mud churned, trees shook, and something impossible began to emerge. A metal hatch, industrial, disguised beneath years of soil and vegetation. The kind of entrance you only find if you know exactly where to look, or if a federal warrant gives you permission to tear apart a mountain. Agents exchanged glances heavy with implication. This wasn't a storm shelter. The hatch opened with protesting metal, releasing air that smelled of oil and chemicals. Flashlights stabbed into darkness, revealing concrete walls, copper wiring running like veins, and stairs descending into the mountain's heart. The descent began slowly, each step measured. This wasn't a basement. It was a complex carved with precision into bedrock. The walls showed tool marks, evidence of years of secret excavation done beneath the feet of students who thought they were learning primitive skills. The first chamber held canned goods, water barrels, medical supplies, but the organization was military in precision, each item labeled with dates going back decades. This wasn't preparedness. This was obsession. Then came the shift. Maps covered one wall, hand-drawn with meticulous detail. Not maps of Turtle Island, but of the entire Appalachian range. Points marked with coordinates, Notations about phase perimeters and signal south, terms that sent federal agents into urgent, hushed conversations on encrypted phones. Control panels, outdated but functional, connected to humming power. Switches labeled in code, monitors dark but capable. Jars containing preserved specimens, soil samples, water from different elevations. A microscope surrounded by notebooks filled with Eustace's observations. This wasn't a bunker, it was a laboratory, an observation post, a command center, and Eustace was gone. His cabin sat untouched. Food on the counter, hours old. A half-written journal entry. When they come, the mountain will decide who stays. Those words echoed like a haunting riddle, a prophecy or threat wrapped in calm certainty. Somewhere in the vast mountain trails, Eustace Conway had vanished, and the mountain now held his greatest secret. The second level shouldn't exist. Structural engineers kept saying it. The excavation required, the volume of rock removed and hidden, all while maintaining a simple homestead above. Yet here it was, extending deeper than seemed possible. This level marked a clear departure. Walls reinforced with steel I-beams. Ventilation systems humming through hidden ducts. Lighting strips revealed tunnels branching in multiple directions. Veteran agents who had seen cartel tunnels and militia compounds exchanged troubled glances. This suggested resources, planning, and a timeline stretching back decades. The air grew thicker, cooler. One tunnel led to a laboratory. Preserved organs in formaldehyde jars, labeled with species and dates. Soil samples from dozens of locations, each catalogued with GPS coordinates. A crude centrifuge, microscopes showing signs of regular use. The biological samples drew most attention. Tissue specimens, blood samples, genetic material that, according to preliminary analysis, belonged to animals that shouldn't exist in these mountains. The implications hung heavy in the filtered air. Another chamber revealed the communications hub, radio equipment spanning decades, from Cold War-era vacuum tubes to modern digital transceivers. Antennas that led to the surface, disguised as dead trees. Someone could have been intercepting government frequencies for years. Maps covered every surface, but not simple topographical maps. These showed electromagnetic readings, water table depths, seismic patterns. Annotations referenced events, some natural, some decidedly not. One map tracked migratory nodes throughout Appalachia, marked with a triangle intersected by 3 lines. Each node bore dates and cryptic notations. Awakening cycle. Resonance achieved. At the far end, they found it. A door unlike anything else. Biometric lock, independently powered, metal composition suggesting specialized procurement. Getting through required cutting equipment flown in from specialized units. 6 hours. When the door surrendered, agents stepped into something humming with a frequency felt in teeth and bones. What they found inside would ensure Turtle Island's secrets remained classified for years. The chamber was small, metallic, climate-controlled. Shelves lined every wall with hundreds of VHS tapes, each labeled with dates and coordinates. Old projectors occupied a corner, maintained with obsessive care, but it was the boxes that drew immediate attention. Cardboard boxes, labeled not with dates or numbers, but with names. Many belonged to people who had gone missing in these mountains over 3 decades. The first tape showed forest at night. Poor image quality, but the content was unmistakable. Figures moving through trees, unaware they were being watched. Camera angles suggested hidden placement, careful positioning. Some footage showed hikers on marked trails. Others showed people in places no trail reached, deep wilderness where only the experienced ventured. As agents worked through the archive, a pattern emerged. Specific individuals appeared repeatedly, sometimes years apart. Certain locations showed up again and again. This wasn't just documentation. It was tracking, monitoring. Then came the maps, red string connecting photographs, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, an investigation wall focusing on sites throughout Appalachia. Each location marked as a node, numbered sequentially. This wasn't just Eustace's bunker, it might be part of a network. The photographs defied easy categorization. Wildlife captured in unusual circumstances, deer in perfect geometric patterns, birds in unnatural formations, night sky images showing star patterns that didn't quite match known positions for those dates, and human figures, not faces, but silhouettes arranged with eerie symmetry. Ritualistic or scientific, impossible to say. The final box sent classified flags up every chain of command. Audio recordings, dozens of cassette tapes containing intercepted communications, military frequencies, emergency management channels, conversations between federal agencies that Eustace Conway should never have accessed. He'd been listening to those who watched everything else. Within hours, every item was confiscated and classified. Agents signed non-disclosure agreements carrying federal prison terms. One insider, speaking anonymously, offered only this: some things weren't meant for the light. The federal perimeter around Turtle Island expanded within hours. What began as a local matter transformed into something requiring national security resources. Generators appeared overnight, powered floodlights turning forest into perpetual day. Drones circled with thermal imaging. Locals reported a low hum from beneath the earth, steady and mechanical, like the mountain breathing. The investigation metastasized. Specialists arrived: geologists, structural engineers, communications experts with vague credentials. They moved with purpose and said nothing to watching civilians. The forest that once represented sanctuary now resembled a military operation. Theories exploded everywhere. Some claimed Eustace built the ultimate survival ark. Others insisted it was a government facility he'd hijacked. Conspiracy theorists connected it to everything from secret experiments to underground bases. The truth remained frustratingly locked behind classification barriers. Then the coded letters emerged. Found in Eustace's cabin, these documents appeared to be correspondence with other parties, names replaced with numbers. They discussed maintenance schedules and observation windows in deliberately vague language. Each letter carried the same signature, a triangle intersected by 3 lines, the same symbol from the maps, the same mark labeling the nodes. Phrases haunted investigators. The ridge will remember who kept the code. When the signal shifts, so must the watchers. Language suggesting organization, coordination, a network dedicated to some purpose beyond one man and one mountain. Former Turtle Island students came forward, confused and defensive. They described Eustace as demanding but inspiring. But now, looking back, they remembered odd moments. His unexplained disappearances, projects he refused help with, construction during their absence. Some recalled helping move equipment they never saw again, digging holes for water systems that seemed unnecessarily deep. Had their education been a cover? The FBI's silence grew absolute. Initial briefings gave way to no-comment responses. What began as a zoning investigation required classification levels most reporters couldn't confirm existed. The message became clear: the full truth would remain buried. Within 48 hours, Turtle Island became ground zero for a media frenzy that transformed the quiet community into a circus of satellite trucks and breathless reporters. Helicopters circled, telephoto lenses capturing glimpses of federal operations. News anchors repeated fragments against backdrops of flashing lights and restricted access signs. The story went viral. Hashtags trended. YouTubers descended on Boone filming theories from parking lots. Reddit spawned sprawling conspiracy boards connecting Eustace to everything from Project Blue Book to programs that officially never existed. The sacred quiet Eustace cultivated now drowned in global attention. Cable news ran 24-hour coverage, bringing in survival experts, former intelligence officers, and psychologists to dissect every known detail of Eustace's life. Old footage from his television appearances was analyzed frame by frame. Commentators searching for hidden meanings in his words, looking for clues they'd missed the first time. His former book publisher issued statements. Colleagues from decades past were tracked down and interviewed. Everyone who'd ever spent time at Turtle Island found themselves suddenly thrust into the spotlight, their old experiences now recontextualized as potential evidence of something sinister. The small town of Boone couldn't handle the influx. Motels filled to capacity. Restaurants ran out of food. Local law enforcement, already stretched thin by the federal presence, now had to manage crowds of curious onlookers, amateur investigators, and thrill-seekers, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the property or stumble upon some overlooked clue. Property values near Turtle Island plummeted overnight as buyers reconsidered purchasing land near an active federal investigation of unknown scope. Leaked information seeped through investigation cracks. Anonymous sources claimed the bunker contained metallic objects of unknown composition, reports of unusual energy readings, electromagnetic signatures that didn't match known sources, whispers of chambers extending deeper, levels barely explored before classification orders came down. One detailed leak suggested discovery of crystalline formations in the deepest chamber, not natural deposits, but geometric structures emitting heat and interfering with electronics. Whether true or imagination feeding on partial information, the story spread. Eustace Conway shifted from hermit to something approaching science fiction. Yet amidst the frenzy, one fact remained. Eustace had vanished. Despite federal resources and manhunts, the man who built the complex remained absent. Locals claimed sightings, a figure hiking north at dawn, a man at a mountain spring 60 miles away. Each investigated, none confirmed. The public divided sharply. Social media battles raged between those seeing Eustace as a visionary and those viewing him as a dangerous extremist. His book sales spiked. His philosophy gained adherents and critics. Documentary crews scrambled for rights and interviews. And through it all, the mountain remained silent. But something changed in the mountains. Ask any local, and they'll tell you, it's different now. The quality of silence shifted. Where once the woods felt alive with natural rhythms, now an electric tension hums beneath everything. Hikers reported mechanical sounds from deep underground, steady pulses following no natural pattern, flickering lights visible beneath soil after dark, soft glows appearing and disappearing. Streams that ran clear for centuries suddenly carried metallic tastes. Dead fish appeared in alarming numbers. Wildlife behavior changed in ways that defied explanation. Deer avoided trails they'd used for generations, forging new paths that seemed to deliberately circumvent certain areas. Flocks of birds that once roosted in specific trees now settled elsewhere, leaving ancient perches empty and silent. Bears, typically predictable in their territorial patterns, abandoned dens they'd occupied for years. Park rangers documented these changes with growing unease, finding no natural explanation for such widespread behavioral shifts. Even the plant life seemed affected. Certain groves of trees developed strange discolorations, leaves turning colors out of season, bark patterns that looked almost deliberate in their geometric precision. Wildflowers that typically bloomed in scattered patches now grew in perfect circles, rings of color that appeared overnight and drew curious botanists, who left more puzzled than when they arrived. Some vegetation died without explanation, while other plants flourished in areas where nothing had grown before. Local pets began refusing to approach specific areas on their daily walks, digging in their heels and whining when their owners tried to lead them forward. Dogs who'd been friendly and calm for years suddenly displayed aggression or fear near the property boundaries. Cats disappeared for days and returned with strange scratches, their behavior altered, spending hours staring at nothing their owners could see. Trail cameras captured strange anomalies, electromagnetic interference creating distortion at the same locations, motion-triggered cameras activating with nothing visible, yet later inspection showing they'd shifted position slightly, compass readings deviating by impossible degrees. Fear spread through the community like groundwater. Locals avoided certain areas. Hunting guides reported clients refusing to venture past specific landmarks, claiming they felt watched. Children came home with stories of humming sounds and sensations of being observed. Federal presence never fully withdrew. Security remained. Warning signs appeared overnight. Federal restricted zone. No trespassing. Locals testing boundaries reported swift responses from agents appearing from nowhere. Official statements attributed everything to environmental testing. But residents knew environmental testing didn't require armed guards. Equipment transported at night. Specialists arriving months later. Most disturbing were the quiet vanishings. Families moving away without explanation. Longtime residents suddenly relocating after generations. The mountain community slowly hemorrhaged population. And at night, in the right place at the right time, you could feel it. A vibration through the ground. Steady. Patient. The mountain breathing differently now. 6 months passed. Then a year. Turtle Island remained sealed, tangled in federal jurisdiction and classification orders. The property entered legal limbo. No arrests made, as the person responsible couldn't be found. But the federal government maintained control, citing national security. Eustace Conway had become a ghost. His disappearance took on mythic qualities. Some claimed he'd planned it all, that the bunker's discovery was intentional. Others believed he'd been taken into custody through channels beyond public knowledge. The most romantic narrative held that he'd simply walked deeper into wilderness, finally free. Online forums dedicated to the mystery accumulated thousands of posts daily. Amateur investigators compiled timelines, analyzed satellite imagery from years past, tried to track construction materials, and determine when the bunker was built. Some claim to have found evidence of similar sites in other Appalachian locations, posting blurry photographs of suspicious terrain features and unusual rock formations. Whether any of these discoveries held merit or were simply the product of pattern-seeking minds remained impossible to verify. Academic interest grew despite the classification barriers. Anthropologists debated whether Eustace represented a new form of modern hermit, someone who rejected society while simultaneously monitoring it with unprecedented sophistication. Psychologists published papers theorizing about the mental state required to maintain such an elaborate secret for decades. Survivalist communities split between those who praised his apparent preparedness and those who condemned what they saw as paranoid excess that would taint their movement's reputation. Several investigative journalists attempted to piece together Eustace's financial records, trying to determine how someone living off the land could afford such extensive construction. They found dead ends at every turn, cash purchases that left no digital trail, suppliers who claimed no memory of deliveries, contractors who'd moved away or passed on. The few leads that seemed promising quickly went cold, as if someone had carefully erased every piece of evidence that might explain the bunker's origins. But whispers from inside the investigation told a different story. The bunker had more levels than acknowledged. Chambers descending far deeper. One account spoke of a final vault requiring specialized equipment to access, sealed with locks predating Eustace's ownership. In that deepest chamber, witnesses claimed, crystalline formations covered the walls. Not quartz or common minerals, but geometric structures, emitting faint electromagnetic radiation and maintaining constant temperature. When approached with electronics, the crystals allegedly caused interference patterns suggesting purpose, organization, perhaps communication. Locals added observations to collective mythology. Phones died near the property without warning. Compasses spun uselessly. Animals refused to cross invisible boundaries. Pets returning from too close came back changed, skittish in ways owners struggled to articulate. The triangle symbol began appearing elsewhere, carved into trees at remote locations, painted on rocks near mountain springs. Always the same, 3 intersecting lines forming a triangle. Hikers posted photos online, unwittingly creating a map showing disturbing patterns across multiple states. Eustace's final words haunted everyone. The mountain keeps what the world forgets. In context, those words carried darker implications. What had the world forgotten? And who was Eustace speaking to? He had become the keeper of a secret the mountain held long before his arrival. And in the end, the mountain kept him too. The legend of Eustace Conway has undergone a transformation as dramatic as the land he inhabited. The last American man, that romantic figure who represented rejection of modern corruption, has been replaced by something more complex and unsettling. The teacher who inspired thousands now serves as a reminder that isolation can hide as much as it reveals. The FBI's files remain sealed under classification orders, suggesting this case touches matters beyond one man's eccentricity. Freedom of Information requests return redacted documents. The official position has calcified into impenetrable silence. But those near Turtle Island know containment is an illusion. The mountain still hums. On still nights, that low vibration rises through the ground. Mechanical, patient, waiting. Tourists come, drawn by notoriety. They photograph warning signs and sealed gates, turning mystery into content. They don't feel what locals feel, don't sense the change in the forest's character. Somewhere in the Appalachian wilderness, Eustace Conway may still walk. Perhaps he found another site in that mysterious network. Perhaps he descended into deeper chambers. Or perhaps he simply ceased to exist in any conventional sense. The truth lies buried beneath the Smoky Mountains, sealed in chambers that may never again see light, protected by classification orders that may never expire, guarded by that mechanical hum pulsing through bedrock, steady as a heartbeat, patient as stone. Sometimes the quietest places on earth hold the loudest secrets, and sometimes those secrets choose to keep the people who find them. The mountain decided. Eustace stayed. The hum continues. The mountain breathes. And somewhere in the darkness beneath ancient stone, something waits in patient silence, kept by the mountain that holds what the world forgets. The truth often hides in the most unexpected places, waiting for those brave enough to seek it. What mysteries lie buried beneath the surface of our world? Share your thoughts below, and remember, some secrets change everything we thought we knew.